that is a 2. 2 as in there are only 2 types of ad scaling strategies you need to know if you're going to effectively scale your ad campaigns. The most common question and complaint that I get about the platforms, whether it be Facebook or Google or Bing or TikTok, is being able to scale campaigns while maintaining your return on your investment. So this is what we're going to talk about today, guys. Stick with me. You're not going to want to miss this. All right, so what do? You have all this budget, you have a campaign that has been working, and what's the first reaction that your boss is going to have, or even as a media buyer or as a digital marketer, you're probably going to have? That's to raise your budget. You're just going to say, well, let's raise the budget. And while there's nothing wrong with that, you want to do that, your first step should be raising budget and then carefully assessing where is the point of diminished return on that campaign. Because let's say you're at a $500 a day budget on a campaign. It's got a 3x ROAS, your boss is happy with the 3x, and now you have a $1,000 a day budget. Do you bring it straight to $1,000 a day? Usually no, you're not going to want to do that. Now you can experiment with increasing the budget. Now this is called vertical scaling. Okay, this is when you're just lifting budgets and kind of crossing your fingers that you don't burn out that audience or the keywords or the market. You're not going so aggressive in that segment of the market that your returns start dropping. Now it's okay to bring up budgets in increments, and that's a key part of media buying. You want to carefully bring your budgets up and assess what's that point of diminished return. Now let's say that you hit that point of diminished return very quickly. What do? Now there's 2 other things that you can do. When it comes to vertical scaling, the other way to scale vertically, meaning taking an existing campaign, that's what vertical scaling is. You take an existing campaign, targeting the same set of keywords or the same audience. You're not changing the targeting, you're just changing your strategy a little bit. So how do you get that campaign to then convert? Well, you want to do a creative refresh. You want to start iterating on your creative and trying to boost your ROAS through creative. Now there's other things you can do, the funnel, landing pages, things like that. We're not going to get deep into that right now. That's not really what this video is about. But when it comes to vertical scaling, the most simplistic way of vertical scaling is lifting your budget and then assessing, can you just bring the budget up and basically do nothing else? This is the lazy man's way of scaling, and cross your fingers and hope that your ROAS stays where it is, or even hope that it goes up somehow magically just by increasing your budget and pushing more traffic into that campaign. Now sometimes this can work. Google will effectively tell you just keep raising your budget and use the AI bidding and all will be well. But in reality, when it comes to Google, for example, a lot of times that doesn't end up being the case. So regardless of how good their system is, you will hit a point of diminished returns. And regardless of what you tell Google you want, sometimes you'll get it back from the system, from the AI, and sometimes you won't. So that's when you have to take things into your own hands, the strategy into your own hands, and work on your creative is one thing you can do if just raising the budgets isn't enough. Okay? Now the next type of scaling is horizontal scaling. And this is the key to scaling aggressively and averting some of the issues that come up with horizontal scaling. Okay? Vertical scaling rather. Horizontal scaling is when, number one, you can activate in a new channel, for example. You take the ads, you take the targeting, you take the demographics, you take what has worked in one platform, and you do your best to mirror that in other similar types of platforms where the same sort of folks may be searching and residing within that platform. Maybe you've had success in Facebook with a certain video creative targeting a certain audience. Well, take that information, take that creative, tweak it so it's formatted properly for let's say TikTok. Put it in TikTok. Put it in, and maybe it's images, and you put that in Pinterest. So there's different ways you can scale horizontally by taking what the assets that have worked well and the audiences that have worked well and moving them into an experimental phase in another channel. And that could be a great way to scale horizontally. Instead of taking one platform, putting all your eggs in one basket, and oversaturating that one bucket of users in that one channel and that one platform, a lot of times what happens is you burn that audience out. They're tired of seeing your offer, they're tired of seeing your product, and at some point it gets boring if you don't change the creative, if you don't activate in a new channel. So the horizontal scaling, one method is through channel activation. Another way to scale horizontally, as opposed to going into new platforms, is taking your existing platform and mining for new audiences or mining for new keywords. So that way you're in the same channel, you're not necessarily having to open up a new ad account in different platforms yet. You haven't, or maybe you already have it, but regardless, you're horizontal scaling by researching new types of keywords, new types of audiences. For example, a lot of folks, when it comes to audience targeting in Google, will focus on the most obvious audiences that Google suggests, things like affinity audiences and in-market audiences. And while that can work, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to get more creative and create custom affinity audiences or custom intent audiences or retargeting audiences or upload customer data. So there's ways that you can scale horizontally in platforms like Google and platforms like TikTok and Facebook by uploading data or creating custom audiences or creating more specific audiences, or just, again, researching new audiences that you haven't advertised in to date. Another way to scale horizontally might be geographically. Maybe you're in one geo and maybe you can serve additional geos, but you haven't targeted those geos. You could add in the new geos and assess how you do in the new geographic areas. Now, a lot of times, if there's a question mark behind how profitable the new areas will be, you'll want to put those new areas in a separate campaign and not just lump it in to the same campaign. And again, kind of take a vertical approach. You want to go horizontal, and that's why you're creating a totally new campaign around a new bucket of people, and then you're targeting them, whether it's new audiences, new keywords, new geos, things like that. So guys, hopefully this was helpful. Drop a comment below. Let me know if you are going to scale vertically or you're going to scale horizontally, and I want to know how you do. So I'll see you guys in the next video.